Your Piece, a radio play by Headway Arts, adapted for radio by Dave Napthine. 1919, A Summer's Afternoon.
They say you should never go back, but I had to. Don't you see? The orchards had been my home, and after the war, I needed to know that all was as it should be. Before 1914, it was a home for imbeciles and the subnormal, but in 1916, it became a hospital. Now, it had returned to what it had been. It was the afternoon of the peace tea. The armistice had been signed in November 1918, but it was only the summer of 1919 that the war was deemed officially over. And what more English way to celebrate than with the clink of china cups replacing the boom of artillery. I walked through the beautiful grounds, full of summer bloom, and sensed the peace tea dislodging the terror of the Battle of Jutland, of raging seas and howling winds. The orchards hadn't changed, but I had. I sat down on a garden bench and looked at the bare trestle tables.
Hurry up, girls.
Yes, Mr. B.
And be careful with the tablecloths, Lottie.
I always are, Miss B.
And I'll thank you to mind your tongue. Well done, Lizzie. Nice and neat. Now make sure the tablecloths don't get creased and the tables are laid exactly as I told you. Are you listening, Lottie?
Yes, Mr. B.
Well, get a move on then. I'll be back soon.
She's going worse. Shut up, Lottie. Maybe listening.
Lizzie and Lottie hadn't changed a bit. Lottie, rejected by her family at a young age, was still getting into trouble. I think that's why I fell in love with her. She is cheeky and fun. And Lizzie, despite being the doctor's daughter, could misbehave with the best of them. I watched them carefully unfold the tablecloths. I didn't want them to see me. Not yet.
Are you looking for a piece of tea? No, I just read onto the table. All the pot people from the names. Is it going to be boring? No, if we do it, there it goes. We can't. We can't. We can. Ross.
See what I mean about Lizzie? They became ghosts and then paraded like ladies in fancy frocks. They became Romans in their togas and brides getting married, and babies in shawls. It was mayhem.
Lottie! What are the tablecloths doing scrunched up on the floor? Pick them all up and get clean ones.
So was it just me?
Silence!
Alright, stop it, Mrs. Buncefield.
I know you did.
Lizzie, it's your idea.
I've warned you, Lottie.
Lottie was so angry, but she said nothing. Both Mrs. B and Lizzie watched Lottie until she had finished. Then Mrs. B strode off.
Lottie, da, Miss Doctor's daughter.
Lottie!
Sorry, Mrs. B.
Good afternoon, Lizzie. What a lovely day.
Thomas, the gardener, a dapper and precise man who arrived at the orchards when he was 12.
Hello, Thomas.
Thomas walked to the top table and stretched out a piece of string lengthways and marked it, and then stretched out another piece of string widthways and marked that.
What are you doing?
Measuring the table,
Why?
so I know where to put the floral display.
Not need that yet, Thomas.
Oh,
Take out of Mrs. Buncefield way.
really?
Very really. She's in that mood.
She'd be worried about Mr. Buncefield.
My father worried about Mrs. Buncefield.
Because Mr. Buncefield's got the Spanish flu.
No, because married to Mrs. Buncefield.
And there's no cure for that, is there?
Even I had to chuckle at that. It was a bit unfair. Mrs. B, as people called her, had a lot to deal with. I know she's got a good side.
So when should I bring in my floral display?
Later, Thomas. Tin-ton.
It can't be.
It is.
Tin-ton, Thomas.
Ting tong, Walter. How are you, old chap?
Splendid, splendid.
Thomas and Walter shook hands vigorously. Walter looked quite the thing in his naval uniform. He certainly set Lizze's heart aflutter.
Walter.
Darling Lizzie.
Lizzie walked over and offered her hand to be kissed. Always the lady's man is Walter.
What are you doing back here, Walter?
Mrs. B invited me to the peace tea.
Because you're my hero.
Is it?
Walter's embarrassment was saved by Lottie arriving with neatly folded tablecloths. Of course, as soon as she sees Walter, she drops the tablecloth in a heap. As she runs over to Walter, and all he can do is say,
Lottie, Lottie, Lottie.
as Walter twirls Lottie around, Lizzie watches.
Are you all right, Lizzie?
I thought I am, Thomas.
Thomas, sensitive as always, can see that Lizzie is jealous and upset. Does he hold a candle for Lizzie? I've often wondered.
Lottie! Lottie?
Yes, Mr. B?
Pick up these tablecloths.
I watched my lovely Lottie pick up the tablecloths.
Now get more clean tablecloths and start washing the ones you've dirtied.
I watched Lottie scurry away.
Walter!
Good afternoon, Mrs. B. How's that?
Dear Walter, thank you so much for coming. Now if only... I'm sorry.
What's the matter with Mrs. B?
It's Lottie. Don't like Lottie talking to you, Walter.
Why not?
Because Lottie isn't a Longrigg maid, Walter. You're our hero.
You came back as well. Harold didn't.
Lizzie,
Yes, Walter?
would you like to walk around the gardens later?
Yes, Walter, that'd be lovely.
1919, a summer's afternoon in the garden of the orchards.
You've done much for the gardens, Thomas.
Thank you.
It's a very sad day for Mrs. Buncefield.
It is that. Still, you're here, Walter. How does it feel to be a hero?
I'm not, Thomas.
But you are. You were injured at the Battle of Jutland. I remember when the ambulance brought you here. You were bandaged and bandaged like an Egyptian mummy, but they got you better.
It was a good hospital.
I liked it when the orchard was a hospital.
So did I.
And then you went back to fight. That makes you a hero in my book. You fought for king and country.
I shouldn't have bothered.
You shouldn't talk like that, Walter. It's not right.
You would if you'd been there. It's just the truth, Thomas.
I watched Walter leave. I could understand how he felt only too well. The afternoon settled into a summer's rhythm as Lottie and Lizzie laid the trestle tables for the peace tea.
Friends, Lottie? Friends?
I watched them hug. This was Lottie and Lizze all over, falling out and making up every 5 minutes.
Ready for a walk, Lizzie?
Ooh, yes.
Not finished. Lay off the table.
Is it time for my floral display?
Not yet.
What I do doesn't matter, does it?
What matter with him?
It's me. I'll go and talk to him.
What about our walk?
Walter left to find Thomas and Lizzie storming off. I knew where Thomas had gone, to the sanctuary of the potting shed. 1919, a summer's afternoon, the potting shed. I hid opposite so nobody could see me. I watched Thomas march up. He stood to attention and saluted the Union flag, fastened to the far wall. Then he set to business.
That's a nasty cough, old chap.
And it stopped me doing my bit.
Can I get you anything?
What you said, it was very hurtful, Walter.
Didn't mean to.
Maybe. But this bloomin' TB held me back. Can you pass me that bag of compost? I marched with everyone to the recruiting office, then made to look a fool by the idiot doctor who examined me. That's why I was so angry and upset.
Lottie and Lizzie seemed much the same as ever.
She used to ask me to read them to her.
Thomas's mind slipped back 2 years prior to 1917, where he thought about the letter, a winter's afternoon, in the kitchen.
You got a cup of tea and a slice of the cake, Thomas, so you can read my Herald's letter.
My darling Lottie, I am serving on the HMS
Censored.
and we are sailing to
Censored.
engage with the enemy under the command of Vice Admiral Sir David Beatty, who I think is a...
Censored.
I've missed you so much. I've missed your lovely face. I've missed your lovely voice. And I've missed your lovely...
Definitely censored.
Give me that, Thomas.
Mr. B, Thomas was just...
I won't ask again.
But it belonged to Lottie and...
Do not answer back.
As the memory fades, we return back to 1919, a summer's afternoon at the potting shed.
We watched in horror as Mrs. B read the letter and became more and more angry. She then ripped it to pieces and stormed off. I helped Lottie pick up the pieces of the floor.
Is that why Mrs. B hates Lottie?
You remember, Walter, Mrs. B seemed to take against Lottie from the moment she was sent here.
I bet Mrs. B was watching for letters between Harold and Lottie.
She was, but she wasn't bothered about letters between me and Harold.
You mean those letters were letters between Harold and Lottie?
Yes.
Thomas was always ahead of the game, and he'd do anything for anybody. But if Mrs. B had ever found out, there would be the devil to pay.
I brought his last letter home for Lottie. It was in his things.
Well done. Lottie was heartbroken when he died.
Thomas, I've lost it.
What?
Harold's last letter to Lottie.
Typical Walter, that. Always losing things. Always getting in the way. How he survived the war, I don't know.
Don't sit on that!
Sit on what?
That's a floral display for the top table.
Walter, shall we to our walk?
What a good idea.
Good, I am hiding off Mr. B. What are you, Walter?
Lottie, under that bench, quick.
Have you seen that flibbity-gibbet girl?
No.
I'll skin her alive.
About the floral display for the top table,
I have more important things to think about.
I don't think she likes me.
Mrs. B mourns for Harold, that's all.
You know what you got to do?
I wanted to know all about what happened to my Harold.
No, you don't, Lottie.
I was suffering of Harold's.
I thought we were going for a walk, Walter.
Mr. B is still on my letter. And now I never left. He gave me a story to remember him by.
We can't leave Lottie like this.
Walter got another letter for you, but he's lost it.
Look what you've done.
If the truth, we always tell the truth.
We should go for that walk, Lizzie.
Take Lottie.
I watched Walter and Thomas sit down on the bench. They both looked sad. What should have been a lovely occasion on a lovely summer's day was now spoiled by the dark clouds of memories.
Keep the home fires burning while your hearts are yearning. Though your lads are far away, they dream of home. There's a silver lining through the dark cloud shining. Turn that dark cloud inside out till the boys come home.
1919, a summer's afternoon at the potting shed.
Look here, Road Fruit. Why are you being like this?
I lost Harold's last letter.
All Mrs. B and Lottie need to know is that Harold died a hero. I don't understand. What happened to you? Was it really such a terrible show out there? Tell me, oh pal.
I was there when Harold died, Thomas. He was right in front of me. He was loading his shell. The gun exploded. His own gun blew his own face right off.
There was nothing more to be said, so I left them to it. I took a turn around the grounds and then found myself on the lawn where the tables were all laid out for the peace tea. There I was, greeted by the sight of Lottie holding a photograph and dancing around the tables. She was always a good dancer. Then she stopped, kissed the photo tenderly and placed it back into her apron.
Is that a photo of Harold?
Yes, he did. My Harold, he's look at you, Walter. A white Bobby Dazzler in a uniform.
Have you seen Lizzie anywhere?
No.
Oh, Walter, don't you look smart? You silly mooning girl, Lottie. You can't even count. You've set one too many places here.
Are you ready for the floral display, Mrs. Buncefield?
Not yet, Thomas. Now, where's that bunting?
Lizzie, sweetheart.
Don't speak of me. You care more about Black Lucy and me.
I am not of Lucy.
Go and find the bunting, Lottie. You should manage that. Lizzie, will you check the table placings? I know I can rely on you to get it right.
Of course, Mr. Buncefield.
Lizzie,
I'm busy.
Leave her be, old chap.
what do you like to smoke?
I don't smoke. Filthy habit.
I seldom smoke, but I need one now. Good Lord.
It's the letter. Harold's last letter to Lottie.
Archie Barrett.
And before he could do anything, Lizzie had grabbed the letter and set off. So how did the last letter to Lizzie end up in the hands of Mrs. Buncefield? It so happened that I was in the entrance hall awaiting the guests. I was careful not to be seen, as I wanted my arrival at the peace tea to be a surprise for everyone.
And where are you going, Lizzie?
She locked in Longrigg, Mr. B.
And what's that in your hand?
It's for Lottie.
A letter? Hand it over.
For Lottie, Mr. B.
Lizzie. Thank you. This is Harold's handwriting.
Mrs. B sat down on the high-backed chair next to the reception table and began to read. Her face changed as she read what had been written. Then, all of a sudden, she stood up and stormed outside, heading for the peace tea. 1919, a summer's afternoon at the peace tea. Thomas and Walter were discussing the important things in life.
Take it from me, Walter. The best way to say sorry is with flowers.
You are right.
We'll put a bunch together, tasteful like, and you can give them to Lizzie. She'll be made up.
Then Mrs. Buncefield arrived, like a fired-up express engine, with both Lottie and Lizzie breathless behind her.
This letter?
I bought it.
For Lottie? And Harold sent nothing for me?
Pardon me, Mrs. Buncefield, but Harold didn't know he was going to die.
How dare you? My Harold died a hero. He gave everything for this country. And you useless lot, you subnormal imbeciles are allowed to live. It's so wrong, so very, very wrong.
Everyone was shocked. Is that what she believed? Head of a home for the mentally subnormal, but she would rather these people were killed to purify the race. I'd heard the great and the good talk this way and champion eugenics, but never Mrs. B.
What's wrong with her?
Eugenics. It's what some people agree with who want to get rid of people like us.
Well, I love you.
Me?
No.
Next, give it for nice. See, Lizzie, if you do what, not me.
Lovely flowers, Walter.
I'm glad you like them.
Lovely earrings.
What is up with Mrs. B? Has she been crying?
She still is. She just been sitting there. Hold her hours later. Guess who should be here?
Is it time for me to bring my floral display?
Oh, no.
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 How are you feeling, Mrs. B?
Oh, Walter, no one has ever asked me that before.
Well, I'm asking you now.
Alone, Walter. Lost.
Like all of us then.
You like a cup of tea, Mr. Buncefield?
I'd here a clean handkerchief for you, Mrs. Buncefield.
Thank you, Lizzie. Thank you, Lottie. Walter, they stuck you on a battleship and said they'd make a man of you. But you've returned to a different world. There's women welding, playing football, suffragettes, munitionettes, and all those boys just gone. Everyone and everything is changed, and I just don't know what to make of it. If my Harold was here, he would...
He is here now, Mr. B.
How could Lottie know I'm here? I've not made myself known yet.
What are you doing, Lottie?
My little photograph of the Harold's. I placed is just here.
But that's an empty chair.
No, Mrs. Buncefield. It is Harry Clear's.
It's a shame he's not here.
But I am here. Look at me, it's me, Harry. I've come back to see you all.
But he is.
You can see me. You can.
He's here in spirit.
Bloody hell, man. Look at this. I'm here. Your son's here. Everybody, look at me. Look at me. It's Harry.
It must be time for the floral display.
It is, Thomas. Bring it in. I'm sure it'll be magnificent.
It's Ruby.
Best ever.
A triumph?
What's happened, Thomas?
My floral display has gone.
What do you mean, gone?
There's hardly any flowers left. They've been stolen.
Walter, those flowers you gave me, Ruby.
You know, I couldn't do me bit and fight in the war. This was my bit towards a peace, and now it's buggered.
We all watched, in both horror and amusement, as mild-mannered and gentlemanly Thomas jumped up and down on his best cap. Then me mum took hold of the situation. She took my last letter and gave it to Lottie, who placed it next to my photo.
The guests will be arriving soon. Lottie and Lizzie. Come, you must both join me to welcome them. And Thomas.
Yes, Mrs. B.
After the tea, you must take our guests on a tour of the gardens. They will see how beautiful they are, and they will feel the peace that you've created. They will feel safe.
They will, Mrs. B. Because we are all here, safe together.
Yes, indeed we are. And after they've gone, Walter, you must tell us all about how Harold died. We are strong enough to bear it.
The peace tea was a great success. Lottie and Lizzie behaved themselves. Mrs. B, that's me mum of course, gave a wonderful speech, as did Walter, and Thomas felt so proud taking the guests around the garden. And he had every right to be. It truly felt the war was over. As the evening light faded, I sat with Thomas and Walter on the bench outside the potting shed. They still couldn't see me, but at least I knew that I'd been there.
There you are, old man. I've got just the ticket.
A rum ration. By George.
I had to put all those apples to good use. War effort and all of that.
And you did.
You know, Lottie and Mrs. B need to know that Harold died a hero. What will you tell them?
On the day, Thomas, my friend, I will tell them anything but the truth.
And with those kind words, I left the orchards. I've never been back. But one day I'll see them all again. I think.
You have been listening to Hold Your Peace, performed by Headway Arts Theatre Company. Thomas Little was played by Timothy Longrigg.
Mark as Walter.
I am Paula and I play Lizze.
My name's Hayley, I play Lottie.
Chris Bowman as narrator and Harold.
Allie Walton-Robson as Mrs. Buncefield. Headway Arts is a multi-award winning company based in Blythe, Northumberland, and since 1995 Headway Arts has made authentic, inspiring and meaningful work through their high quality inclusive working methods. This latest piece of entertaining original theatre has been adapted for radio by Dave Napthine. It puts learning disabled actors centre stage and is supported by the National Lottery Heritage Fund, Arts Council England, Queen's Hall Arts Hexham and Headway Arts. It is designed and directed by Allie Walton-Robson, adapted for radio by David Napthine, researched and produced by Fran Castle and Paul Denton, engineered and produced by Jason Thompson, pianist Paul Donaldson. We have used the opinions and the medical language of the time. For more information on the creative and charitable work of Headway Arts, follow us at headwayarts.co.uk.